the first two forms of the active listening, you really do get that sense that you have to be an active listener, and then you're getting feedback, and you probably will find out immediately that that they're feeling heard.
So this week's is on communication and active listening. So first I need to give credit where credit is due. I learned this information from, this information is geared towards helping teachers become better educators. So, you hire coaches to be teachers to the teachers, and the coaches use this to help the teachers. And when I learned these, I thought they were brilliant, and I think that they do a lot for helping people get through difficult moments when they're not hearing each other. And what was so fascinating about when I first learned this is there was this really funny anecdote about somebody who was in a office setting, and he was a male who wasn't used to doing office kind of setting work, lower social class kind of guy. And somebody new walks into the office, not somebody, one of the people over Christmas vacation had a boob job. And they went from like this size to like this size. And he looks at the girl and he's like, "Girl, you got some tits," or says something horribly inappropriate for an office setting. And the boss hears that and she's like, "Oh shit." She's like, "Let me take you away. Let me pull you into the room and tell you why you can't scream about somebody's new pair of tits in an office." And so she's trying to talk to him, and as she's talking to him, he just keeps saying over and over, "Yeah, but don't you see?" And she's like, "Yeah, I do, but you can't talk to her that way." He's like, "You don't understand. Her tits were this size before, and they're this size now." And she's like, "Yeah, I hear you." And the guy's a big guy, and he keeps growing. He gets bigger and bigger. And he's like trying to really get her to understand, even though she does understand, that her tits are big. Like this other woman's tits were really, really big. And then the woman had an aha moment. She's like, "Oh, he doesn't think I can hear him. That's why he keeps repeating the obvious, that she has big tits." And so she's like, "Oh, you're right. Her tits are way bigger now than they were last time." And he's like, "That's what I'm saying." And he like calms down and chills the fuck out. And I really thought about extending that anecdote to anytime I'm in conversation with somebody and I'm trying to get them to hear me. And I realized that there were these cues from the people in front of me that told me that they weren't being heard. So one of the cues, so what you're going to essentially be learning today is it's three different types of paraphrasing. And you learn these three different types of paraphrasing because they're going to help you in arguments, when you can remember to use them, move arguments left, right, up, or down. And I thought this was particularly appropriate for our cultural moment, since everybody is talking about how everybody else is wrong on the internet right now. And if you're someone out there who
or wrong in real life, or wrong in a protest,
yeah, it's just people are wrong. And so there's a lot of conversations going on. I welcome you to use this skill. It's really effective in relating in partnership. It's really effective with family, and it's really effective if you're trying to tell somebody they're wrong on the internet. These are really, really essential skills. So that's what we're learning today.
And yeah, we use part of this in restorative justice. There's nonviolent practices. There's some of these elements are present as well. And again, obviously, if the focus is, I think over the last few sessions of the Polytalk, we've been kind of navigating through different, I don't know, what do you want to call them? Like, I don't want to say pitfalls, but through different permutations of success or potential failure. And so this
challenges.
is challenges. Sure, there you go. So this is one of the ways that we can navigate successfully within, obviously, the framework of this discussion specifically.
Exactly. So this is really important. This is the power of the paraphrase. Not that I need to think I need to convince anybody of this, but it's still just a really important thought. A paraphrase provides a safe environment that allows the brain to engage in cognition or problem solving. When there is emotional safety, the pathways in the brain are clear. Neurotransmitters in the neocortex allow neurons to communicate more effectively through these pathways. However, when the brain senses a threat, signals to the neocortex interfere with thinking, so a person may not have clarity of thought or rational decision making. And so when you can paraphrase somebody, it offers cognitive and effective safety for the brain to think. So if you're in a heated conversation with a lover, particularly if you're navigating the complexities of multiple lovers, if you're in fight or flight in your brain, you can't problem solve together. You really can't. And so this way of speaking and acting is a way to talk you and your partner off the ledge so that you can actually have a productive conversation as opposed to just having all these these neurons be blocked from being able to speak to one another.
Which is super valuable. I mean, even if you feel like you and whoever your partner or lover is that you're talking with are being, calm and gentle, that might be the case, and that's a good thing, but it's still not this. This gives an extra buffer of space for the brain to do what it needs to do.
And to your advantage as well.
Yeah.
So for example, if I'm having a heated conversation with Daniellow and he says something to me, if I ask him a question right away, instead of offering a paraphrase first, I might be shutting his brain off to thinking because it's sensing a threat instead of wanting to engage with my question. So
I might not feel heard. I might not feel like she actually heard me. She just went into whatever was important to her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I watch this happening all over the internet, all over the world, all of the time. And the reason there's 3 different types of paraphrase is they all have different functions. When should you paraphrase? Think about it this way. If the person in front of you is getting emotional and heated, that is an indication they think they're not being heard. If the person in front of you is repeating themselves, that is a key they think they are not being heard. You ever get into those moments and you're like, oh, you're repeating yourself. You're repeating yourself because the person you perceive that the person in front of you can't hear you and is not listening. Or if you find yourself unable to understand their anger and their needs despite the repetitions, then you can use this because you're not understanding them and they're not understanding you. You don't have to use paraphrase. If you're having a great casual conversation, even if it's a heated conversation, but there's no heat and there's no motion, there's no charge, and you guys are actually going places, you don't have to paraphrase. It'll slow you down. This is really for when you're in a place where you're about to do something that's really touchy and you want to let the person in front of you bring down their filters and listen and back and forth. So this is going to be a very practice-oriented one. There are 3 types of paraphrasings: acknowledgement and clarification, summary and organization, and levels of abstraction, shifting up or down. So for example, acknowledge and clarify is acknowledging feelings and desires. It operates on the level of comprehension and understanding, not just rote recitation. You want to say what they said in completely new words. What you're not doing is you're not yet getting to a point where you summarize and organize, and you're not abstracting it. You're not going to a higher level first. So I'm going to show you guys an example, just acknowledge and clarify. I'm going to give, actually before I show you an example, I'm going to give everybody in this call 2 minutes to really consider. I want you to think about something that is heavy for you or that you want to talk through or that you have an issue with a lover. It doesn't have to be lover oriented. It can be anything, something just going on in your life. Because what's amazing about paraphrasing is that even under a contrived situation, which our situation right here is contrived, we're creating this, it's not real. If somebody paraphrases you correctly, your body and your body language will respond. It's impossible. You can't circumvent those neural pathways in the brain. So I'm going to put us a timer. You have 2 minutes to figure out what is something that you want to talk about, something that's bothering you, something that's going on in your world. Let's say you speak and the person paraphrases you with an attitude, then I think what's important, what that is indicative of is a lack of understanding of values. There's something that you're saying that they're interpreting in a way that's not valuable to them, and so they're going to throw it back in your face with cynicism. And you kind of look at values in abstraction in that 3rd category. What we're going to do right now is going to be super simple. It's just acknowledging clarification. And then when we talk about abstraction, then we'll talk about values and beliefs, and then that gets even more powerful. The simple paraphrase is just that. It's simple. So I'm going to start the timer now. Take 2 minutes and figure out something that you want to unburden upon somebody else. Timer is going. So here's the thing. For this exercise, it doesn't have to be lovers related. It can be anything. it's more powerful if it's something that actually matters to you.
Yeah, and if you don't have the chat open, you can check the chat. We're putting in some extra notes there for prompts.
Okay, that's 2 minutes. If you still haven't thought of something, we'll give you an example. Do you have something?
I mean, we could.
I can go. I got something.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so he is just going to say back what I've said to him, acknowledging fears are beside. It's just comprehension that he understands what's going on in my world. So I have been really, really frustrated about what's been going on with my parents just got a divorce, and my mother has been very angry at my father for wanting to have a divorce, never mind the fact that she cheated on him so many times when we were younger and when I was a little girl. And I don't think it's fair that she's so angry at him for divorcing her when she doesn't live with him, doesn't want to have sex with him, doesn't like behave like a wife. Like it's her attachment to the name only thing drives me crazy. That drives me absolutely crazy.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you're having a lot come up right now around your parents' divorce, specifically around your mom being angry with your dad in an unwarranted sort of way because of how she's treated him or mistreated him or just not been the kind of wife. And it just feels very, very two-faced, and that doesn't feel good for you.
That's exactly it. So he knows this situation, but he was able to say back to me really what I meant. And having that moment where someone else says it back to you just as you spoke it is really important. What he didn't do yet, because we're just practicing acknowledgement, he didn't say anything about my, okay, he didn't say anything about my, he didn't try to problem solve in any way, shape, or form. He didn't start organizing my ideas, and he didn't talk about any larger philosophical concepts behind this. It was just acknowledgement and clarification. That's all we're practicing right now.
Which that is not my nature.
He wants to go further, but all three of them have their use.
Yeah, I love abstraction.
He loves abstraction. I do too. Okay, does anyone have questions about that? Okay, I'm breaking you guys into groups, and you're just going to practice abstraction. I'm going to
No, acknowledge
it and clarification. So if you have the pair deck on, you can keep this window. If not, you might want to take a picture of it. Otherwise, because as soon as I put you in breakout rooms, you're going to lose it. There's going to be 2 rooms, 3 minutes to each person to practice paraphrasing. So pair A, B will go first. A will speak, B will paraphrase, and then B will speak and A will paraphrase, and then the other pair is just watching, and you're just giving feedback. How do you think it went? Was it just acknowledgement or clarification? Was there an attempt to problem solve? All that kind of stuff.
And then after that whole round, then C and D will replicate, right?
Yes, exactly. 3 minutes to each person to practice paraphrasing. 1 pair just watches and holds space. The other pair goes, then you switch. Other person, repeat what they said back to them and see if it's right. And pick 1 scribe to keep track of anything interesting aha moments in this exercise. They can write that aha moment in the comment box, which is available on Pear Deck. So if somebody's logged into the Pear Deck, they can write the comment there. Whoever that is, they should be the scribe. Okay, I'm putting you guys into rooms now. And then let me know if you have any questions. Then we go to the next thing in our paraphrasing talks is summary and organization. So organization is once you've had the issue has gone on for a while, you don't have to start with paraphrase, with just a plain and simple paraphrase. Like these 3 different things do different things in the moment. Summary and organization is once the issue has gone on for a while, you can summarize the overall needs and desires of the person. But what's really powerful is breaking up their issues into these discrete categories so that you can actually address them all differently. Because often when people are vomiting information on you, it is just vomit, particularly if they're heated or emotional. And so one of the ways that you can help turn down that center, that illogical center of the brain, is to give the brain places to put things and create categories and organizations. So we'll give an example. Do you think you do it with the one I gave you, my mom?
Sure.
Okay. So I had said, you guys all heard it, but I'll repeat some of it just to give you a reminder. I'm frustrated at my mother's divorce because she had cheated on my dad, and she's really angry at him for divorcing her, but she doesn't act like a wife anyways, and that's all really frustrating to me. So what are all the different things you can kind of see going into categories there?
Um, I mean, there's these obvious things that you're frustrated by. There might be a separate category, and like I could list those out, and there might be a separate category of things that have less to do with your frustration and more to do with maybe concerns for your dad and maybe his treatment. And you could, I could reference some things there. Um, and let's see, what would be another one?
So what I would say for that one, there's kind of three different things going on. There's my own frustrations at my mother's and father's divorce and how it's affecting me. There is my pain at seeing my mother mistreat my father as much as she does. And then there's also some sins of the past that I'm kind of dealing with at the same time, and that heaviness from my mother's issues. So that's another example. Daniello, can you repeat yours for everybody else so I can do it with you?
Yeah, sure. So I got hired to do production sound for a feature-length film. It's shooting in a week, and I'm excited because this is a great opportunity. I haven't worked much since November, so this is obviously a positive thing, but there's a lot to catch up on really quick. There's some additional equipment I need to get. I have concerns, some concerned about COVID. They've assured that there's going to be masks, and they have all these protocols with how they're doing the food, craft services, etc. But I share a home with Lily and some roommates, and our roommates have, I guess, more concerns than we do is maybe a way to put it. And so I'm trying to balance, my needs as a production sound mixer, recorder, engineer with, working, and maybe is the work coming too quickly? Should we wait for these things? But here it is. I'm being requested. I said yes. Yeah.
So I think you have your personal anxiety about returning to work, and then you have to deal with the anxiety of the people who live with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to triangulate that with your desire to make money and also not want to make your roommates feel bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd say maybe if there's another category of things in there, it'd be something along the lines of this all feeling very rushed. And I love this opportunity, but I would love it more in a month, not in a week.
Yeah, exactly. So that's organization. You take all these ideas and you okay, so there's one problem here, and there's one problem here, there's one problem here, and there's one problem here. Does anyone have, so this, on the screen I have stems that you can use. I always put stems. I mean, I think they're restrictive. I don't like them. I don't use them. But it seems you have three different issues going on. You're concerned with this and this. Or what I'm feeling is you feel this. One thing I see that is a problem is over here. Another thing I see as a problem is over there. So that's organization.
Also, I think it's really important for this part of the conversation for everyone to realize that there's no right way for you to hear somebody else. However Lily's brain works, she's going to automatically organize her thoughts in a way that's frankly very different from mine, or from, since Shannon and Gina are the next two in line on our gallery view right now, since compared against Shannon or Gina's. So, just because you're hearing us organize in a specific way and you're like, whoa, I wouldn't have thought to organize it that's really confusing. Don't worry about it. Your brain would do something else with it, and that's actually fine. When you repeat that back to the person, if you're stratifying and organizing, that's helpful to both of you.
Mm-hmm. It helps clarify for you, and it helps clarify for them.
Yeah.
Honey, do you have anything to add?
The thing that came up for me was also that you do have the ability to give more information about what kind of answer you're looking for when you're asking a question. If that's something that comes up with your partner a lot, like where you feel like the answers you're getting don't match up with what you're asking, you can ask the question and then give a bit more. You could say in that instance, and I'm not looking for you to fix it right now, but I would love some feedback, so that they know how they can support you. And it just gives it a chance to be clearer up front.
Asking questions is always great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I remember this is a lot to do when we're heated. It's really contrived and weird right now because we're not heated, and it's really easy. But when we're heated and we have to step back and paraphrase and bring down that effect, the filter of the brain, we got to calm it down. that's when this stuff becomes like really important and really powerful. Okay, we're gonna put you back to the same groups. This call is talking people off the ledge. And what at the beginning of the call, what I said was, if someone is repeating themselves over and over, or they're getting louder and bigger, that's your clue. Start paraphrasing, because they think you can't hear them. And then we're practicing the different types of paraphrasing to make sure that they know you're listening. And active listening is, you know, I think most agreements would be quelled like this if it was obvious that both parties were actually listening to what was happening. We don't have much time, so I'm not going to have time to practice the third one, and the third one is my favorite. The third one is abstraction. And abstraction is when you go from, there you go. Want to do this again? I do want to do this again. Okay. Abstraction is when you get the meaning, the heart of what somebody says. You get at their values, their beliefs, their assumptions, or their intentions. And this is the one that usually, you know, people like, oh my God, you hear me. I'm so happy that you hear me, you know? This is a really big one. You're inferring the deeper meaning and what's valuable to the person in front of them. And you're trying to understand essentially where they're coming from. You're really trying to pin them down about their values. So the example that Daniellow and I keep using when I talk about my relationship with my mother, my mother's divorcing my father. She cheated on him many years ago. Now she's angry at him for leaving her, but she's not even a good wife. Then what would you tell me that I value? What would my beliefs be? So if I, you know, I had this long conversation, this is how I feel with my mom, what would you say back to me?
I'd say, you know, there's a lot of healing you have to do with your mom. Like you've got some stuff that goes way back that you feel you somehow need to help or heal, and this is partially out of your control, and you need to figure out what that is. That might be part of it. I also like this one in a way isn't fair because I know like Lily's thing with her family, so I can just immediately call that. And it might be actually too specific and not related to this one, but you know that's what's underpinning all of that.
Show me your example so I can.
I might say that I see that you value integrity, you value honesty, and you value family and the way people within your family treat one another. And you're being pulled between the different things that are really important to you right now, so you can show up and still stand for integrity for everyone in your life, especially your mom right now.
Yeah, that's great, Devin.
Yeah, that totally hits me. Like, and it does, because my biggest frustration is that I feel like to be the best person I can be, or to stand for integrity, I have to hurt my mother, and that sucks. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we've been there where you feel like your personal value system is at odds with someone else's behavior, and how do you tell them that? What do you even do with that?
Yeah, and it's the not looking at the possibility of there being a win-win.
Yeah.
Just accepting that someone will lose, or I will lose, or there will be a loss in order for this to be. So my abstraction is basically around like your pull between those two things and how that's been going on for so long. And I know that makes you tired. And
when someone gets the abstraction correct, it always hits you. It doesn't matter if it's contrived or not. You go, oh my God, I'm understood. It's a really powerful one.
Let's try to see if we can do mine real quick.
What's yours?
Yeah, so I've got this production job I'm going to be doing. It's in a week. I wish it was a little further out. I'm feeling some concerns about it because it's so near to us being fully locked down in quarantine, and I'm not sure if I'm totally prepared for it, but I'm committed to it, and I'm excited, and I want it working.
Your intention here is to keep everyone in your life happy, your roommates and me and yourself. And what you really value, I think, is your career. And you're wondering, you know, it's kind of sucks to be put in the situation where suddenly your career needs are put at odds with the possible health and safety of your whole house. Like, that sucks. And I just think, you know, both those things are really valuable to you, and you're trying to figure out which one of those.
Yeah.
you know, which one do you follow? And the truth is, you don't have a choice. You kind of have to follow the one for work because it's income and we need it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of this feeling like, well, I can't even care about my roommates that much. They're kind of SOL.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think on mine, there's like, maybe there's a trust thing too. Like, I'm trusting this film production to be doing best practices. You know, I'm trusting myself. I hope that trust is well placed for the sake of my roommates, like you were saying. Right?
Yeah, you are trusting in, oh my God, I hope you can trust them correctly. Even us being here, trusting we're in a house with other people. We had to do this. We didn't have a choice, you know? So yeah, trust is a big part of it too.
Yeah.
So you guys see how we went from like moment to organization and then abstraction. We're like getting at the deeper things that are calling to us about this issue.
Yeah, and it's often like one word. You know, for Devin's call out on Lily, it was integrity. You know, maybe mine was trust. It's like these seed level things.
And more than anything, when you get that abstraction right, that's when the nervous system just goes, whoo, like everything falls. You'll feel it in your body. If someone gets it right, you'll feel it. And you'll feel it if you get it right and you're doing it to someone else, you'll feel it in your body too. So go ahead and go back to the rooms. Luckily, I think we've heard all of each other's stories twice already, so you don't have to repeat it again, but let's see if you can kind of get the abstraction. And yes. We could practice abstraction for an entire session.
They like do a whole workshop just
a whole workshop just on abstraction.
Yeah. The first two forms of the active listening, you really do get that sense that you have to be an active listener, and then you're getting feedback, and you probably will find out immediately that that they're feeling heard. Abstraction, if you can nail it, it's really powerful, but you might not nail it, and they actually could feel the opposite. They could feel not heard at all, because you're drawn to one set of conclusions, evaluation or whatever. And you're like, oh, is this it? And they're like, no, that's not it, As opposed to if you're just repeating back, like, you kind of can't go wrong with that one.
No, you can't. Not for creating understanding.
Yeah. Okay, good. We have to drive back from Vegas still, so we're going to go.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Great meeting you, Joan. Love you. Bye. Bye, Devin.